Hello there, my RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. Grayshaft is an upcoming Gothic-like RPG which came out of nowhere. In the past, I covered a couple of RPGs that claim to be inspired by the Gothic series. And to tell you the truth, I wish I didn't. However, this time around we have a legit development team that seems competent and very serious about their project. When I heard that this game is inspired by Gothic, I honestly didn't expect much. But after watching pretty much all videos on their channel, I'm pleasantly surprised, but still a bit worried about some features and mechanics that we're going to talk about in this video. First of all, Grayshaft is in full development and the game is fully funded as well. I'm not exactly sure, but it seems like they managed to secure the funding with the help of the Indie Cup website. Everything about this game is on Russian, so I had to translate all the info from the videos, so if I get something wrong, I'm sorry about that. Regardless, I think the translation was more than enough to give us the general idea of what we can expect from this game, and we have plenty of gameplay videos. Before we dive right in, a quick word from today's sponsor. Omniheroes is a heroic fantasy casual strategy RPG and has received recommendations from both Google Play and App Store. As Omni Guardians, players are called upon to rescue the captive Valkyries from demons and fight together against the evil forces of this world. You can summon over 100 uniquely designed heroes, unlock multiple synergies, and match hundreds of team comps at will. Omniheroes offers a casual and relaxed gameplay experience, but it can also provide you with deep and strategic challenges if that's what you're looking for. You can sit back and relax while using the automated mechanics and drop in whenever you like to claim the rewards they earn for you. The quick battle mechanic allows you to skip battles effortlessly. There is an exciting new event coming up on November 17th called Ashen Phantom. So get ready for an electrifying experience with a captivating new storyline and roguelike deck builder new gameplay. Download Omniheroes now and claim 777 free pulls and be part of the exciting season. This is the perfect time to jump into the game and claim those 777 free summons and welcoming 5 legendary heroes into your roster within the first week. The plot of the game takes place on the island of Grayshaft, which is marred in eternal strife, banditry and corruption. You will need all of your knowledge to put the world of the island in order and face the threat that has never been seen in this world before. That's pretty much everything we know about the story so far. Grayshaft has a very extensive dialogue system, according to everything we could see from these clips. We also have plenty of info about the quests and how the game pushes the story forward. The quest should be very flexible, with meaningful consequences that will affect your character. These consequences might be apparent right away or further down the line. Some of the quests will not even appear in the task log, and in order to complete them, you need to carefully monitor both what the characters are saying and the world around you. I mean, that sounds pretty cool, but if not implemented correctly, it could be tedious as well. We can only speculate about how this feels to play, but I definitely like the idea. To add to this discussion, there will be no quest marks on the map, if I understood correctly. You will navigate the world independently and with the help of a simple paper map, just like in Gothic. I used to talk a lot about this before and how I hate when games have over-designed maps, which are basically GPS systems. I mean, it makes sense in a game like Cyberpunk, for example, but definitely not in a medieval fantasy RPG, if you ask me. Since the developers are based in Russia, I'm assuming the primary voice acting is on their native language. I'm pretty sure the game will have English subtitles, but I'm not sure about English voice acting. Although I certainly hope that it will have English voiceover, otherwise they will miss out on a huge gaming market, which could be a big mistake. But take this information with a grain of salt, because I couldn't find any actual info about the English voiceover. Anyway, the exploration was always a huge part of Gothic games, and it seems like Grayshaft is on the right track. They talked about the unlinear nature of the game a lot, and how they don't feel the need to tell the player what to do at every step. That kind of design philosophy should only make the exploration more enjoyable, in theory. We have some very interesting footage of different explorable areas in the game. First of all, I wasn't that impressed with how the game looks, but I quickly changed my mind the more videos I watched. I'm not talking about the graphical fidelity, I'm usually very easy to please when it comes to that. On the other side, I hold the artistic style in high regard, and I think that's the most important thing to get right. But like I said, we have the footage of different environments that look really damn good. These areas have very dense vegetation and the visual variety is pretty good as well. The forest area is packed with detail and it looks like it's fun to explore. They also want to reward curious players, so I guess we can expect very rewarding exploration. Nothing is procedurally generated in this game, it's all handcrafted. If you watch my videos, you could hear me talk about this aspect of Piranha Bytes RPGs a lot. The handcrafted open world was always one of the staples of Piranha Bytes game design. Grayshaft took some notes and the result looks pretty good, at least in these videos. For some reason I didn't expect to see a great visual variety, because most of the game footage is showing the forest area. Don't get me wrong, I would be completely fine with only one big forest area, but I also like to see different biomes in my RPGs. We can see some short gameplay clips of the swamp area, as well as the area covered in snow. So the visual variety should be pretty decent. On the other side, I hope the level design is good in those areas as well, which is a lot more important in general. In one of their videos, they mentioned the importance of the environmental storytelling. That's also something that I personally like in RPGs, but it can be pretty tricky to pull off or to get players to care about such features. Like I mentioned before, they're really focusing on immersion, which will affect every single feature and mechanic in the game. The AI behavior in Gothic games was one of the big reasons for such a strong and immersive environment. These NPCs had a full day and night schedule, which made the world feel alive. Now, I don't have any in-depth info about the AI schedule in Grayshaft, but they did talk a little bit about AI behavior. Apparently, the NPCs can walk around the world over long distances, although we don't know why. I don't know if this is unscripted and not related to specific quests, but whatever the case might be, that sounds promising. Besides that, NPCs will react to players' actions. Grayshaft has similar NPC reactions when the player draws a weapon, when he sneaks around, etc. That's another small but very important detail from Gothic games. So what about the gameplay features like combat? Well, we do have a bunch of fighting clips, but I couldn't manage to find more in-depth info about the mechanics. Although we have enough footage to make somewhat accurate conclusion about specific mechanics. First of all, the combat looks okay. It's obviously not going to be the best melee combat ever, and we don't have a clue how it feels to control the character. That's always one of the most important things when it comes to combat. Some of these animations look a bit floaty and unimpactful, but again, we don't know how the combat feels. On the other side, there are some welcoming features that should make the combat feel better, like the dismemberment system. That's always a big plus in my book. What's also interesting from these combat clips, you can see the character holding the weapon with both hands for some attacks. That seems to have a greater chance to stun the enemy, but I'm just assuming things. They mentioned the progression system a couple of times and how important it is. Again, yet another huge feature from Gothic games. The combat was never great in Gothic games, especially because of the controls, but the progression system made sense, and more importantly, it felt amazing. I'm curious how they plan to approach the progression with melee weapons. If they really want to go the Gothic way, the character should unlock new combat moves and animations when he invests points into melee abilities. So, as long as Grayshaft has a serviceable combat, I will be totally fine with it if the progression system feels great, like in Gothic games. There is a stamina system, I assume, but it doesn't seem to affect the knockbacks and stuns, as far as I can tell. You would assume that stamina has to be really low for such effects to occur, but not in these particular cases. The enemy AI seems to be okay, and they talked about different ranks of enemies. This particular example comes from the arena feature. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but yeah, yet another feature that you would expect to see in a Gothic-like RPG. I wish I could find something about different playstyles like magic or range combat, but I couldn't. I'm just hoping to see at least a couple of meaningful ways to build your character. If they're going with the Gothic way, we could perhaps expect to see some factions that offer you different playstyles, but again, that's just my speculation. We can see that the character can use bows and crossbows, but I never saw the player use them in a fight. I'm also kinda disappointed that we can only see the player use one-handed short sword. It would be cool to see him use two-handers like some NPCs in Arena, or bows like I said before, and maybe magic, although we're not even sure if the game has magic. Since we still don't have a release date, I guess they have more than enough time to improve the combat as well as the game in general. On the other side, some of the features already looked finished and ready to go. Once again, there is a big emphasis on the immersion. The crafting, cooking, mining and some other similar activities have their own unique animations and minigames. For example, you need to hit the perfect spot while mining if you want to maximize the resources you get. You can break a finger while crafting if you're not successful, and so on. This should be just cosmetic and attention to detail, but it probably won't affect the actual gameplay. Those features are not the most important thing to have in your game. However, I really like small details like this, and they certainly add to immersion. But if other major features are not done properly, these small features won't matter a lot. I'm trying to stay as objective as possible and keep my expectations low. But like I said in the beginning, this is the first time a Gothic-like RPG actually seems possible, so I'm hoping for the best. The last thing I want to mention is the music. The composer for Grayshaft had some very interesting things to say, and we can hear some samples in these videos, and they sound really good. He even said that he uses the same sound library that Kai Rosenkranz used for Gothic games, which is very interesting. Overall, Grayshaft truly seems like a proper RPG that's inspired by Gothic games. In a way, this game seems like a huge fan service to all Gothic fans. I'm really curious about all the future updates and the announcement of the official release dates. We still don't have anything about that, but I will cover all major updates in the future, so stick around. And what do you think about Grayshaft? Are we finally getting a good Gothic-like RPG? Leave a comment down below. If you want to support the channel, liking the video and subscribing would be wonderful. Speaking of supporting the channel, you can check out my merch store with some very cool t-shirt designs in the theme of the channel. I'm also working on bringing the early content to all channel members and Patreons. If you join, you also get some cool loyalty badges on your name in the comments and my streams. Many thanks to all of my current supporters, and I'll see you in the next one.